What's up, softball coaches? I'm Coach Dan Blewett. In today's video, let me give you some tips for designing practices if you're a head coach in Fastpitch. All right, so number one, and this seems obvious, but you really should plan this out. Write down a practice plan ahead of time. Give yourself 45 minutes just to sit there and think. Give you that time to jump on YouTube, grab some drills if you need to, whatever it is. But the more you can organize, the less stressed you're going to be when you show up to practice. I would always jot down to the minute as best I could. So, 1 to 105, introductions, 105 to 110, we're doing our warm-up drills, whatever it is. That way I could try to keep on track as best I could, but always knowing that we have to be flexible and that sometimes kids are going to go off task, or we're going to just need to shift a little more time to this drill rather than that drill, or this one new thing we're doing takes way longer than I expected. So be flexible, but chunk it all up and outline it as best you can before your practice. Number two, it's great to have a little back pocket notebook that you can take notes, jot them down during practice and during games. That way hey, we struggled with this, we struggled with that, we need to work on cutoffs more. Next week, we need to address, being on time or whatever it is. That way you can have a running tally of stuff to add for next week's practice. Especially in games, this really goes a long way to help you just not have to remember everything, right? So a little back pocket organizer is a big thing for coaches. Number three, and this is just something to know, you really aren't going to have much time to give individualized instruction at practice. For me, as a former pitching instructor, I would do 1,000 lessons a year for baseball, right? I'd do some softball ones as well for overhand throwing. But that one-on-one instruction, it's really hard to do that as a head coach. And that was a frustration even for me when I started coaching our academy's teams, because we had our own 6-team baseball organization and a 3-team softball organization. And I wanted to work with players one-on-one. Hey, let's work on your swing. Hey, this is going on, or your pitching mechanics, your throwing mechanics. But you really just don't have time to break that stuff down because your role as a head coach organizing a practice is that you've got to get everything moving efficiently, and you really more just a manager than an instructor. So just understand that until you have really great assistant coaches that really know what they're doing and they can really run things, and players have a lot of autonomy to stay on track, then you can start to give a little more one-on-one instruction. But really you have to just understand and give yourself, a break. Practice time is not individualized instruction time. Number four, also, you just need to understand that there will be standing around sometimes. I know all of us as coaches want to keep kids moving, keep them engaged. They have low attention spans today versus 20 years ago. So yeah, it does make sense to be efficient, keep them moving, keep them engaged. But there's a lot of intricacies in softball and lots of nuances that you sometimes just have to explain. You sometimes do have to stop everything. Hey, everyone, this is when we're going first to third on that ground ball to the right side, and this is when we're not. We've got to read it here. We can't read, whatever it is. There's a lot of explaining. This is a complicated sport, but baseball and softball are very nuanced, and there's going to be times when you just have to stop and explain. So don't feel bad about yourself if some parents come up and they see the kids standing around because you have to really drill this thing into their heads. That's just part of it sometimes. We can't be perfect keeping them constantly engaged. My next tip for softball practices is you absolutely need station work. Do not rely on the full field practice too much because it takes way too much time hitting a ground ball there, then a ground ball there, then a ground ball there. That's how you get a lot of standing around. The way players get their reps in is through lots of efficient stations, whether it's outfielders are doing throws over their shoulders, working on their drop step, while infielders are taking tons of ground balls, just like one line of 4, and coach gets to hit them 1 million ground balls in 9 minutes or whatever, right? Catchers are getting tons of blocking drills, but we want to have stations where players can move through them. And the more you can make universal stations, like, hey, ball thrown over the shoulder is not universal just to outfielders, right? That's going to help make infielders better. It's also going to help your catchers because they're going to have to track down balls up in the air, pop-ups, right? But is it still going to help build their athleticism? Sure. So station work should be a big part of your practice, whether that's like the middle, half or 2/3 of practice, but that's how they really get a lot of their reps in. So don't get too bogged down trying to be full field all the time at your practices. Next, during a softball practice, leverage your players as much as you can. Deputize them to help run stations on their own. Don't feel like as coach, you have to always be the one hitting the ground balls or the fly balls. Kids can learn to do this themselves. You can take a practice early to teach them, hey, here's how you set up, toss, and hit a good ground ball. Here's how you set up and toss and hit a good fly ball. But the more they can be their own sort of practice stewards, that's going to be best for efficiency. Because again, you can't be everywhere at once as a coach. And even if you have an assistant coach or two, sometimes the best way to get everyone the most efficient practice is to have 5 stations. Well, if you have 5 stations and 2 coaches, 3 stations are going to be run by players. Players like this. They want the choice. They want the autonomy. They want the independence. So talk to them like adults and be like, hey, this is what we're doing today at the beginning of practice. Here are the couple stations. We've got to be really on task. Can you all run this station? You all run this station. You all run this station. And so that way, when those groups get there, they're in charge of doing that thing. But deputize your players and give them some choice and give them some autonomy and let them help to run an efficient practice. Next, you have to be crystal clear at the beginning of practice about your goals, what you're doing today, and any potential safety issues. Be crystal clear with safety issues. We never swing the bat in front of the dugout. We never pitch to each other without helmets on. Whatever it is, those two seem obvious. Make sure it is crystal clear what any of the safety issues are, and make sure you spread players out away, because you'll be surprised how often they can overthrow or just get careless and the groups start to get too close together. Someone gets hit in the head with a ball. So be crystal clear with safety and overall practice expectations to kick off every single practice. And my last tip to run effective softball practices is find the right parents who want to be practice partners with your team and help you as a sort of assistant coach. Now, this is tricky, so let's talk through it. Number one, you don't want to just say, hey, coach, hey, parents, let me grab a couple of you. Can you come to practice? And they'll be like, sure. And now you've got 3 parents who you haven't really vetted that well, who now, one parent's in the outfield and they're doing a drill and they're really yelling at the girls and being kind of a little harsh, right? And that's not the vibe that you want. But you didn't have expectations conversation with them. So now you're going to have to break up with that coach or that, that practice helper. And that's going to be awkward. Or you have another parent who's coaching a drill that you asked them to teach, but they're doing it the wrong way. And you don't want them to coach that much. You only want them to coach these 2 points, whatever it is. So my point here is you don't want to just grab parents and bring them in because you don't know what you're going to get. Take a little bit of time early in the season to figure out, okay, what parents do I feel like I trust the most? Which parents are going to be like, okay, hey, you just tell me what to do, tell me what to say, and I'll do it. If you want me to hit, ground balls and not say a word except cheer for the girls, I'll do it. That's the kind of parents that you want, the ones who can take instruction, who are just there to give you an extra, fungo hitter or drop step thrower or a thrower to the catchers or whatever it is. But you don't want to have these breakup conversations with parents once you just release them into the wild and then they're just doing the wrong thing or they're coaching in the wrong way and undoing some of the stuff that maybe you've done. Usually they're well-meaning, but sometimes I've done this in the past where I've had a coach who's like, oh, God, he's just yelling at the kids and way over coaching them, giving them a million pieces of feedback and they're just getting frustrated. Now I've got to deal with that, right? And so that's what you don't want to get into. So take your time. I would definitely try to get parents to help you with practices because, again, they can help run stations and just get a lot of the repetition work done. But you have to be careful about who you tag in to your practice. All right, so hopefully this video is helpful. If you're a coach, I know it can be overwhelming trying to figure out how to do this job well, and it's definitely a challenge. If you have any comments, leave one in the comment section below. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you here in the next video.